Hello children, I hope you all are studying well and EVS is giving you a in-depth knowledge about different things. It's like a one-stop shop where you can get information about science, about environmental studies, about geography, about so many different things, okay, about yourself also. So children, let's talk about forest and forest people, the people who live in the forest in this chapter. So let's talk about this category of people also, okay. So I know a large area covered by trees is called and we get dash from forest. So you have to tell us what all we get from forest and what is that area called which is full of trees over a large area, okay. So what is a forest? A forest is an area with a large number of trees, plants, shrubs and herbs. Forests are inhabited by animals and sometimes people too. Forests are an important natural resource. They help us in many ways which are given below. So forest क्या होते हैं? They are a huge area of land जहाँ पे trees, herbs, shrubs और अलग-अलग type के plants होते हैं, okay? और यहाँ पे predominantly animals रहते हैं, but साथ में you have people also who live in this areas, okay? Now जो natural resources हमें मिलते हैं वो मिलते हैं through trees, through forest. Let's see them, okay? They give us a range of useful products such as pulp for paper, timber for wood, fruits, medicines, raw materials, etc. They provide us shelter, okay. They help in purifying the air because the trees use carbon dioxide present in the air to prepare their food and then they release oxygen which we breathe, okay. They add moisture to the air, thereby increasing the amount of rainfall in that area. So they also increase the rainfall in the area by providing moisture to the air, okay. They prevent soil erosion as roots of the trees hold the soil firmly. जो roots होते trees के, they are so strong that they hold the soil firmly and they prevent it from getting washed away by rainwater. Now, they also regulate the climate by preventing excessive heat or cold. Okay, so now let's find out what can be done, what can be found in forest other than trees. Do all forests have similar types of trees and how many trees can you identify? Okay, so the trees are useful to us in many ways. They give us pulp for paper, timber for wood. They provide us with so many different types of fruits, vegetables. At the same time, what happens is they hold the soil firmly. That's why they don't get washed away. The soil erosion doesn't happen, okay? And at the same time, they give us shelter. They protect us in the different climatic conditions also. They regulate the climate, all right? Now, people who live in forest. Let's talk about people who are living in forest. Earlier, people used to live in forests. Okay, over a period of time, forests were cleared and villages and towns came up. People moved from forests to villages and cities. But even today, many people live in or near forests and use forest products for their survival. Such people, they are called tribal people or Adivasis. ओके सो पुराने ज़माने में लोग तो फॉरेस्ट में ही रहते थे और बाद में धीरे धीरे देन दे स्टार्टेड मेकिंग देयर ओन हाउसेस, दे स्टार्टेड बिल्डिंग देयर ओन कम्युनिटीज़ एंड ओन सोसाइटीज़ एंड कॉलोनीज एंड ऑल, और ऐसे वो बढ़ते गए एंड देन दे स्टार्टेड डेवलपिंग थिंग्स ओके एज पर देयर नीड्स, ऑलराइट. फिर फॉरेस्ट से लोग मूव हो गए विलेजेस में, विलेजेस से मूव हो गए सिटीज़ में, एंड but still there are a few communities or there are still many people who live in these forests, okay, and such people they are called Adivasis or tribal people, okay. So Jarwa, Kol, Bhil, Munda, Gonda, Santhals, Khasis, they are some of the Adivasi group living in different forests of Bharat. In Bharat, tribal people live in many regions. like Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, Khasi and Jantai Hills. Okay, they have different languages. They have different cultures. Okay, their life is closely associated with forest as they depend on forest products for food, fuel and shelter. सो मोस्टली इनका लाइफ जो होता है इस फॉरेस्ट प्रोडक्ट्स पे डिपेंड करता है, उनके खाने के लिए, ऑयल के लिए, फ्यूल के लिए, सब कुछ इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द फॉरेस्ट. ओके, दे हैव डिफरेंट लैंग्वेज, उनकी लैंग्वेज अलग होती है, कल्चर अलग होता है, ट्रेडिशंस अलग होते हैं, अलग अलग पार्ट में रहते हैं. डिपेंडिंग ऑन द स्टेट दैट दे लिव इन, देयर लैंग्वेज एंड देयर कल्चर्स चेंजेस. ओके, now women gather various products from forest such as tendu leaves, fruits, berries, bamboo, sal seeds, okay, gum, mahua and medicinal plants. From the raw materials, okay, that are collected from the jungles, these women, they make baskets, mats, brooms, etc. So they also make ropes from vines and trees barks and bows and arrows from timber. Tribal women make beautiful jewelry using grass fibers, seeds and shells. Sometimes tribal men and women walk long distances to sell various forest products they collect. So, अगर आप कभी एग्जीबिशन में जाओगे जहाँ पे अलग अलग स्टेट से, अलग अलग जगहों से लोग अपने चीज़ें एग्जिबिट करते हैं, सो you will definitely have one counter which has tribal items. Okay, now ये tribal items जो होते हैं ये these are made by the women or people who live in these forest. Okay, और forest products लेके they make all these different items like baskets हो गए, jewelry हो गई. Okay, and they, you know, they are really beautiful and worth a look. They are so creative. Okay, now some tribes they also grow crops. Tribal people depend on the forest for their livelihood. Many of them practice shifting cultivation. Okay, this means shifting cultivation मतलब क्या होता है? That they cultivate a particular piece of land in the forest for 2 to 3 years. Okay, then the land becomes less fertile. So 2-3 साल वो एक ही piece of land पे cultivate करते हैं, क्रॉप्स ग्रो करते. उसके बाद 2-3 साल के बाद वो जब इनफर्टाइल हो जाता है, कम फर्टाइल हो जाता है, देन द लैंड बिकम्स लेस फर्टाइल एंड द ट्राइब मूव्स टू अ न्यू लैंड. नाउ दिस प्रैक्टिस इज कॉल्ड झम कल्टिवेशन. ओके, नेक्स्ट let's look at the deforestation and its effect. You know the term deforestation means? It means cutting off the trees. So let's see how have they affected the human life and how they continue to still affect our world. Okay, deforestation is the permanent destruction of forest in order to make the land available for further use. So they cut off the forest, they cut off the trees, and then they use the land for building of factories, buildings, and so many different things. Okay, conversion of forest land into farms or other places of urban use are examples of deforestation. Now, what are the different causes of deforestation? Why do people have to destruct the forest life? Okay. Many cities go for deforestation to cope with the increasing demand for housing brought about by the growing population. जैसे पॉपुलेशन बढ़ती जाएगी वैसे वैसे ज़रूरतें बढ़ जाएगी, वैसे वैसे लोग बढ़ जाएंगे, उनको घर लेना पड़ेगा एज अ फॉर्म ऑफ शेल्टर फॉर देम, एंड दैट इज़ द रीज़न वाई दे हैव टू कट ऑफ these trees and empty those lands, the forest land, और वहाँ पे वो घर बनाते. Okay. Logging or simply cutting down of trees for timber is one of the main cause. अब जैसे घर बनेंगे फर्नीचर की डिमांड भी बढ़ जाएगी, different items की डिमांड बढ़ जाएगी, wooden items. So for that, in order to get the timber, that is another way of getting timber, that is by simply cutting down the trees. To provide land for food crops like palm oil and for rearing cattle, several rainforest areas are being cleared again. So जैसे you have a new house and you have a new shelter, the demands have increased, the demand for products from the forest also, for the demand for crops also increases, and to grow crops they need more land, and that's when they use the forest land also. So land for mining, industrial projects and building dams is also used from the forests. Okay, so the forest land is used for all these purposes as well. Okay, now let's look at the effects of deforestation. Okay, due to deforestation, tribal people lose their shelter and the source of food and fuel. They have to travel long distances in search of food, firewood and grazing grounds for their cattle. सो इनके लाइफ पे बहुत असर हो जाता है डिफॉरेस्टेशन. एक तो उनका घर चला जाता है, उसके बाद उनको बहुत दूर दूर तक चलना पड़ता है इन सर्च ऑफ फूड, इन सर्च ऑफ फायरवुड, ग्रेजिंग देयर कैटल्स एंड ऑल. Absence of herbs and medicinal plants creates immense difficulties for the tribal people as modern doctors and medicines are not available in the forest. तो generally tribal people जो होते हैं वो herbs पे depend करते हैं. They depend on the trees and the plants for medicines also. तो अगर उनको ही cut down करेंगे तो then it is very difficult for them to get it because modern doctors, modern medicines have still not reached these areas of our country. Okay, since the life and survival of tribal people depends upon the forest, they worship trees and have their own ways of protecting them. Okay, trees like neem, peepal, banyan and basil are considered as sacred and are believed to bring good health and peace. So people do worship a lot of trees because that is what it's believed, that it brings good health, okay, and peace. Now do it yourself. Write the names of different tribal communities from different states of Bharat and learn about their occupations and lifestyle. Okay, now let's talk about the sacred groves. Some parts of forest are considered sacred by the tribals. Sacred means holy, जिसकी worship होती है. Okay, now in these areas, cutting off of trees or killing of animals is prohibited. Okay, they believe that the gods live in trees and they are sacred. So tribal people are also believe a lot in God. Okay, तो उन्हें लगता है कि ये जो areas हैं उसको कोई भी वहाँ पे नहीं जाएगा. Okay, and nobody will kill the animals who roam into that area because God exists there. He lives there amongst those trees. So they mark these areas of the forest as sacred and create rules and customs so that they remain protected. In Bharat, there are sacred groves in different parts, okay, or different parts of the forest, like Devkot in Madhya Pradesh, Sarna in Jharkhand, Gampa forest in Arunachal Pradesh and Dev Bhumi in Himachal Pradesh. They are some of the sacred groves. Some of the richest groves in the country are found in the Khasi hills of Meghalaya. Sacred groves are in the hills of Garhwal and Kumaon, find mention in old Hindu scriptures like the Puranas. Shipin, about 12 km from Shimla, is believed to be the biggest Devdar grove in the district. Maharashtra has 250 groves and Kerala has 240 groves. All these groves are full of large variety of rare plant species. Okay, so अलग-अलग states में, अलग-अलग regions में अलग-अलग type के trees है who are in a large number और वहाँ पे variety मिलती है आपको अलग-अलग species के, plant species के. Now, fact zone. Many tribal people consider Mahua tree sacred. Now, let's talk about Chipko movement. चिपको मूवमेंट क्या होता है? इट इज़ अ मूवमेंट जहाँ पे जब पीपल स्टार्टेड रियलाइजिंग कि डिफॉरेस्टेशन हैज़ इंक्रीज्ड, people started driving, some of the NGOs and all, they started driving tree plantation drives. Okay, so the Chipko movement is the best example highlighting the efforts of people to save forests. So the movement began in Chamoli district of Uttarakhand in 1973 and spread throughout the Uttarakhand Himalayas. Chipko means to stick in Hindi. They hugged the trees to prevent their cutting. So when they saw that people were cutting off trees, they all went and they started hugging the trees. So those people who had come to cut down the trees, they stopped themselves because they couldn't cut down the tree because the person was holding it tight. Okay, so the government had granted some forest land to a sports goods company. When it came to clear the trees of the forest, local people stopped them. Soon many people joined the protest and Chipko movement became a huge revolt. Okay, the success achieved by this protest led to similar protests in other parts of the country. Some of the prominent leaders of the Chipko movement are Gaura Devi, Sudesha Devi, Chandi Prasad Bhatt, Sundarlal Bahuguna, Govind Singh Rawat, Dhoom Singh Negi, and Shamsher Singh Bisht. He appealed to then Prime Minister of Bharat, Indira Gandhi, to stop the cutting down of trees. Ultimately, the cutting of trees was banned. So, देखा एक स्पोर्ट्स गुड फैक्ट्री जो थी, स्पोर्ट्स के इक्विपमेंट बनाने वाली फैक्ट्री वहाँ पे इस्टेब्लिश होने वाली थी एंड दे वांटेड टू कट डाउन द ट्रीज एंड दिस इज हाउ दे स्टॉप देम. उन्होंने उनको रोका ट्रीज को कट करने से, ओके, बाय हगिंग द ट्रीज एंड स्टॉपिंग देम. ओके, नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट प्रोटेक्टिंग फॉरेस्ट. We can protect the forest by ensuring that fewer trees are cut. Recycling paper and using in gobar gas instead of wood are some of the steps we can take to reduce cutting down of trees. Afforestation or growing trees to regain forest cover is being practiced all over the world. People of Bharat have many festivals related to trees. One Mahotsav or the Forest Festival is one of the example. It was started in 1950 by K.M. Munshi to create awareness and enthusiasm among people for forest cultivation. So, trees को बचाने के लिए also we can try to use different methods, like instead of we can recycle the paper, we can use gobar gas instead of using the wood. Okay, we can start growing more trees. और more trees के लिए बहुत सारे लोगों ने अलग अलग ड्राइव्स चालू किए. जैसे वन महोत्सव इज देयर, इट्स कॉल्ड अ फॉरेस्ट फेस्टिवल, ओके, विच वाज स्टार्टेड इन 1950 बाय के.एम. मुंशी, जहाँ पे उन्होंने अवेयरनेस स्प्रेड की, एंथुजियाज्म स्प्रेड किया ऑफ प्लांटिंग मोर trees. Okay, now this week long festival in the month of July, August and September is characterized by large scale tree planting. तो इस फेस्टिवल में बहुत सारा ट्री प्लांटेशन होता है. ओके, द गवर्नमेंट हैज़ गिवन ट्राइबल पीपल राइट्स टू प्रोटेक्ट द फॉरेस्ट थ्रू अ सिस्टम कॉल्ड जॉइंट फॉरेस्ट मैनेजमेंट. सो गवर्नमेंट ने ट्राइबल लोगों को भी इन्वॉल्व किया है सो टू प्रोटेक्ट द फॉरेस्ट एंड दे बोथ आर नाउ वर्किंग टुगेदर टू सेव आवर फॉरेस्ट एंड प्रोटेक्ट इट. तो ये जो मूवमेंट है उसको कहते हैं जॉइंट फॉरेस्ट मूवमेंट, ओके, मैनेजमेंट. ओके, tribal works with government agency to plant trees in the forest. In return, the government provides the people with facilities such as clean drinking water and good roads. Okay, so the government has set up numerous wildlife sanctuaries, national parks and biosphere reserves to protect and preserve wide variety of plants and animals. So some of them are given on the next page. सो गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत सारे वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरीज चालू किए, नेशनल पार्क्स, बायोस्फीयर्स, जो इन प्लांट्स को, फॉरेस्ट को प्रिजर्व करते हैं. एट द सेम टाइम दे ऑल्सो सेव द एनिमल्स, ओके, ऑन दोज एरियाज. जिम कॉर्बेट नेशनल पार्क इन उत्तराखंड, भरतपुर बर्ड सेंचुरी इन राजस्थान, पेरियार सेंचुरी इन केरला, मधुमलाई सेंचुरी इन तमिलनाडु, मानस बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व इन Assam. Okay, so whenever you get a chance to visit these sanctuaries in your vacations, do go and look at them. Okay, now remember, a forest is an area with a large number of trees, plants, shrubs and herbs. Many people live in or near forest and use forest products for their survival. They are called tribal people or Adivasis. Okay, some parts of forest are considered sacred by the tribals. And the Chipko movement is the finest example highlighting the efforts of people to save forest. We can protect the forest by ensuring that fewer trees are cut. Now let's look at the new words that we've learnt in this chapter. Tribals, they are the people who live in the forest with their very own set of customs and traditions. Deforestation, cutting down of trees on a large scale. And sacred groves, they are a area with a wide variety of plants dedicated to the local deity of God. So children, now I hope that you know about forest and the tribal people who are living in the forest. We must respect them both. We must respect the forest also and the tribal people who are trying to save these forests, and they are doing a good job by helping the government in the management of the forest as well. Alright, so children, do reread this chapter and do the back exercises.